What's going on, YouTube family? This is your man Pristine, back with another video. Here before you, ladies and gentlemen, is the Sony Xperia 5, and this is my full Pristine review for the Sony Xperia 5. Now, some of you may be wondering, like, he's doing a full review on the Xperia 5, but I did not see unboxing or a dedicated camera review for the Sony Xperia 5, and the reason for that is because initially I picked up a Sony Xperia 1, and these two are relatively the same devices, but the Sony Xperia 5 here is just a smaller version of the Xperia 1. And at the time that I got the Xperia 1, the 5 wasn't available at the place of purchase, although it was out. And then a couple of days after I had got the one and already did an unboxing video and all that jazz, I got a phone call and they were like, hey man, we got the 5 in and we got it for a deal if you want to bring it in and swap your 1 for the 5. Because initially I wanted to get the Xperia 5 because the Xperia 5 was released much later, like some months after the Xperia 1 was released. The Xperia 1 was released back in June of 2019, and the Xperia 5 here was released in late October or early November of 2019. Okay, so the Sony Xperia 5 here is Sony's latest flagship device that was released. But again, I kind of question why Sony decided to release the Xperia 5 here, because again, it's just a smaller Xperia 1. It's like, why not release them both at the same time and just give people the option to have the bigger one, which is the 1, and the 5, which is the smaller one? Why release them months apart from one another? You know, things that make me go, Okay, so in this video, I'm just basically going to do a full review, and I'm also going to manifest some photos and video imagery like at the midpoint of this video, just so that you guys can see how the camera does. Unfortunately, my computer crashed last week, and a lot of the videos that I had that were ready for upload or still needed to be edited, I lost all that. I'm having to go back and redo a lot of the stuff, and you know, most of the stuff I wasn't able to recover it, which sucks. I feel like it slowed down my momentum a bit. But nonetheless, let's get into this thing. Now, the Sony Xperia 5 here, I got it for a deal, open box at Best Buy. You can see the price right there. I got it for $629.99. Now, again, this is Sony's latest flagship device, and I understand we are in the wake of Sony's newer devices that are getting ready to drop. The Sony Xperia, I think it's the Xperia 1 Mach 2 or something. I know the devices, I just don't know the names. And I know we're also going to start to see Sony's new mid-range device is going to be rolling out here sometime soon as well. But the Xperia 5 here is the latest flagship device that Sony released. Like I said, it was released late October, early November of 2019. And so I believe the regular full retail price is $799. And so again, I urge you, ladies and gentlemen, you know, if you're looking to get a new device and if it's unlocked and if it's sold at Best Buy, I mean, if you can find it at an open box deal, it may be worth it. I mean, of course, you know, check it out, make sure that there's nothing defective or anything. But the Geek Squad, which is Best Buy's technological service to make sure that, you know, products are functioning properly. I mean, you know, obviously somebody brought this phone and for whatever reason they weren't feeling it. They returned it to the store. The Geek Squad tested it from top to bottom, made sure that everything was legit with it. But of course, since it was bought and taken out of the store and in the possession of another person, they can't sell it for the full retail price, right? And so you can get some really good deals. This was in excellent condition, and you can see the price that I got it for, $629.99. And you probably could get this cheaper right now because of the fact that it's been out for a little bit, and we're right around the corner from Sony's new devices coming out. Now, just like the Xperia 1, we have got here, the display is a little bit smaller. So the Xperia 1 has a 6.5 inch display. The Xperia 5 here has a 6.1 inch display. And this is a 1644 by 3840 pixel true 4K display. And I know that Sony was touting the Xperia 1 to be the first true 4K display that's out there. And I think that the specifications that I'm reading from are from the little cheat sheet that I made for the Xperia 1. I think that this is a full 1080p display. I don't believe that this is a full-on 4K display. I could be wrong about that, but I know that that was like one of the differences between the two. But because of the smaller form factor, I mean, the display is still absolutely stunning in my personal opinion. I mean, so it's just a small, I think it is a 4K display. I'm not sure if it's a POLED display or what, because I know that the Xperia 1 is an OLED panel. But nevertheless, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a 6.1 inch display. We've got the 21:9 aspect ratio. This phone is extremely thin. And as you can see, I've got my Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra here, and you can see here the Ultra is a big 6.9 inch mammoth. And when I put the Xperia 5 next to it, you can see that there's a significant size difference there. But then you'll notice too, you can see how much wider the Samsung is than the Xperia 5 as well. I mean, the Xperia 5 is a really, really, really thin device, and I think that it's one of the best feeling devices that I've ever got my hands on. I mean, it's just a really, really thin phone. We've got Corning Gorilla Glass 6, I believe, and so we do definitely have some durability. But again, you don't want to drop this device. You want to protect your investment with either a case or a screen protector of some sort. Yeah, you've got the top end specs: Snapdragon 855 processor, 6 gigs of RAM. We do have, believe we've got 128 gigs of storage. Yeah, we have 128 gigs of storage that can be expanded up to 512 gigs. And so some thought that you can expand this up to a terabyte, but you can expand it only up to 512, which is still a lot. Okay, but just having the ability to expand the memory, you know, beyond the 128 that it comes standard, that's pretty solid. And so, the build quality is solid in my personal opinion. Yeah, we've got Gorilla Glass 6 on the front and the back of this device. And so, the device, it's very thin, it's very lightweight. It feels really, really, really good in the hand, ladies and gentlemen, really good in the hand. I've got a case for this phone, and just, I've gotten so accustomed to how the phone feels with the case on it. It's a Spigen case that I got off of Amazon. I'll drop a link for that in the description box down below. I live by Spigen cases. They're inexpensive, and they're battle tested. They're affordable, and they're really good quality cases. And they're slim cases. They don't add a lot of bulk to your device. You know what I mean? So this phone, being small in stature as it is, even with the case on it, it's still going to remain that way. It's not like once you put the case on it that it just turns into this big, bulky thing that'll weigh you down when it's in your pocket and all that kind of thing. And so I'll drop the link down below in the description. If you are curious to know what that case looks like, here's the case right here. It's just a rubber TPU case. And you can see it's got a little lip on it at the top there to protect the camera hump. And yeah, it's a really good case. Rubber TPU. You can see that. I mean, it's durable. I've dropped this phone one time. Actually, I was leaning in to give one of my coworkers a hand, and she didn't realize that it was in my hand. And as we were pulling away from hugging one another, her hand hit mine, and it knocked my phone out of my hand. And, I never really drop my phones unless like something like that happens, but it hit the ground pretty hard. But I picked it up, and, thank goodness for that case. I mean, it was totally unscathed. So, Glad that I had that case in there. I may have been looking at a couple of dents in the phone, or possibly a cracked screen or something like that. But again, I think this case was like 12 or 13 bucks on Amazon. Like I said, I'll drop the link below down in the description if this case is something that you're interested in, if you have this device, if you want to protect it. Now, the performance, again, Snapdragon 855 processor. You can see just breezing right through. Very responsive to the touch. It's my Google Now feed. A lot of information on here about this coronavirus stuff that's going on in sports. A lot of maneuvering going on in football right now in the NFL. But yeah, as you can see, as I'm just navigating through, very responsive to the touch. Now, it doesn't have a 90 or 120 hertz refresh rate, but I mean, I don't necessarily need that. I just think that this phone overall is still a really good buy here in 2020. And so, if there's a question as to whether or not this phone is still relevant, absolutely. I mean, we've just started to see phones roll out that had the new 865 processor, and there isn't that many of them. I mean, so to sit there and act like phones of last year, of 2019, are no longer relevant just because we're in a new year is ridiculous, if you ask me. You still can get some really good purchases, some really good prices on some really good devices of last year. And just because it doesn't have the new processor in it doesn't mean that it's not going to perform just as well. I think, navigating and web browsing and opening up applications and stuff like that, I mean, you're probably not going to notice a difference between these two devices, even though this have the Snapdragon 855 and the S20 Ultra here has the new Snapdragon 865. All right. So, don't get too wrapped up, in the specs. I mean, if some of you want to allow that to be the determining factor, I get it. Some of you just want the most cutting, most bleeding edge technology in your hands. Others, not really so much. You just want a phone that's going to function properly, do what you need it to do, take decent pictures and stuff like that whenever you decide to get the camera app out. And this phone is definitely going to do that. All right. It's amazing how a lot of people, when it comes to a phone, they could care less about the specs. They're just like, can it call someone? How's it sound when I'm on the phone? Can I text? Can I browse my social media? Can I take some nice pictures and video? Is the phone going to last me throughout a day's time? And that's really it. For a lot of people, they don't really care too much about a lot of internal specs. I mean, we really break down and scrutinize those things just because I'm a tech reviewer or, mobile phone journalist. And, this is what I do. Right. And those things are determining factors as to whether or not I'm going to pick a device up and feature it on the channel and so forth. I mean, whenever I hear about a new device, the first thing I'm thinking, what are the specs? What's under the hood? What's the camera like? What's the battery? Before anything else, then I'm like, okay, what are the features and the functions and all that type of thing, right? But that's that reviewer's mentality. The average consumer, a lot of people don't really care much about those types of things. This phone right here will probably be overkill for a lot of people, and I understand that. All right. So, I mean, the way the phone performs, it performs beautifully. I'm connected to my Wi-Fi right now. I don't currently have my SIM card in this bad boy, but as you can see, I'm just opening up applications with no problem at all whatsoever. And you can see Apple Music, Spotify. I mean, these are huge applications that I've got a lot of different files and stuff in. SoundCloud. I'm a huge music junkie. And you see the way this phone is just opening up these things. Oh yeah, I'm excited about that V60. I slept on the V50 last year, but I'm on that V60 this year. But yeah, you see just how it's just navigating through things. You guys get the hint. Okay, we do have Android 10 on this bad boy, and so your typical, Android 10 fashion as to how you navigate your device is here on the Xperia 5. I mean, it was running on Android 9 Oreo when I bought it, but I mean, as soon as you turn the phone on, the update is right there available for you to update. And so my understanding that as of now, the Xperia 1, the Xperia 5 are the only two Sony devices that have the Android 10 update. I understand the mid-range Sony Xperia 10 and 10 Plus was supposed to have gotten the Android 10 update, I believe, at the end of January. So I think those two devices has it by now. You know, today is the 22nd of March. All right, so yeah, so those are the only four Sony devices that I know of that have Android 10, and then of course, you know, the new devices that are coming, those are going to come preloaded with Android 10, I'm sure. But in typical Android 10 fashion, you just hold up just to get to your recents. As you can see, the RAM has everything just loaded up there, and there's no need to reload anything. You just click right back on it, and SoundCloud is right there. Go back to Apple Music. It is right there. Pop back into Spotify. It's right there. And pop back in my Bible app. It's all there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so this phone performs beautifully. I haven't been able to get this phone to lag or stutter at all whatsoever. And another thing that a lot of you are going to find very nice about this device, if it's a pretty, you know, near stock Android experience. Like, you know, Sony, I mean, it's a fully unlocked device. And so that's another good thing about this phone, like fully unlocked as far as it being tied down. It's not just GSM. It's not just CDMA. It's GSM and CDMA unlocked. You can use this phone with any carrier that your heart desires. And that's another thing that I love about this phone, because there's no carrier restrictions at all whatsoever. Most phones that drop their GSM unlocked, I don't come across a lot of phones that are CDMA unlocked only. Most of the phones are GSM unlocked, and then you may be able to use them with use a CDMA carrier. There's been some GSM unlocked devices where I was able to throw my Verizon SIM card in it and use it. But I mean, this phone right here, it's fully unlocked. Doesn't matter what your carrier is. Doesn't matter if it's GSM or CDMA. Just doesn't matter. Any SIM card you throw in this phone, it's going to work. And that's one of the main things that I love about the Xperia 5 here. And the Xperia 1 is the same. All right. Now, the cameras. On the front here, we've got an 8 megapixel front-facing camera. All right. Now, on the rear, we've got 3 cameras there. All right, we've got a 12 megapixel wide angle sensor, a 12 megapixel telephoto lens, and a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle sensor. We do have 4K recording at 30 or 24 frames per second. We have 1080p recording at 60, 30, or 960 frames per second. All right, and some of the additional features that we have, we've got LED flash panorama, autofocus tracking, optical image stabilization, HDR. Oh yeah, and eye tracking. All right. And then we have also 5-axis gyro electronic image stabilization for the front camera. And so, you get a lot with this camera. And just really quickly, I'm gonna pause the video, go ahead and roll some video footage and some of the still shot images that I was able to capture with this phone. Beautiful images and video quality, and then I'll come back and we'll finish out the video. All right. What's going on, YouTube family? This is your man Pristine. All right, so check it. So this is the front-facing 8 megapixel sensor on the Sony Xperia 5. All right. Now, this is just going to be a quick little snippet of content for both the selfie camera and the primary camera. About 2 weeks ago, man, I don't know what happened. My computer reset and it erased everything, y'all. I mean, everything. Like, I had like 9 videos that were either ready to be uploaded or still needed some minor editing done to get them upload ready. And I don't know what happened. My computer crashed, and I was not able to successfully recover all that content in which I lost. And 2 of those videos was the Pristine review for this phone, which is why I'm having to redo it, and the dedicated camera video. Now, at first I was just like, I'll just throw a couple of snippets of information, you know what I'm saying, with the camera, but I don't, this camera is a really good camera, and I don't want to shortchange you guys, because I feel like this camera is good enough and it deserves its own video. So I just decided that I'm going to do another version of the camera review for this phone. So stay tuned for that. But here and now, I just want to give you guys just a little tidbit of what this camera is like. So again, This is the front-facing selfie camera, recording at 1080p right now, at 30 frames, and you know, it looks good. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, I've got no complaints at all whatsoever. So yeah, that's about it for now. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go ahead and swing the camera around to the primary sensor, take a little bit of footage from that so I can display for you guys here, and then I'm gonna roll some still shot images, and then we'll get back to the review, and then we're gonna close this thing on out. All right, y'all, so this is the 12 megapixel rear camera here. We've got a triple camera setup here. We've got a 12 megapixel primary, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 12 megapixel telephoto lens. As you can see, this is my desk here. This is where all of the magic happens. Here's my computer. As you guys can see real quick, this is an HP. It's not a Mac. You know what I mean? You see me in the reflection right there on my editing software, which I'm editing this video. You know what I'm saying? This is a Windows 10 computer, man. Some of you guys in the comments kill me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, trying to tell me what it is that I have. You know, just because it's white, it looks like an iMac, but it's not. All right. So yeah, this is my whole little setup right here. You know, I got my 4K TV right there, my PlayStation 4 Pro right there down on the bottom. My son here playing Fortnite. He's getting murked over here, getting smashed because he's trash. Ooh, bars. He's over here getting murked. You know what I'm saying? Because he's trash. You know what I'm saying?
Who is shooting? Oh, he's shooting.
But yeah, so you know, and whoa, what is my spider doing? Oh, she's molting.
Since where?
Oh my goodness.
You serious?
Xena's molting. She's upside down. She's not dead. She's molting.
What does that mean?
That means that she's shedding. She's getting ready to shed because she's growing.
How long does it take?
Sometimes she could be like that for days. Wow, interesting. Okay. All right. Wow. Well, I wasn't expecting to catch that on footage, y'all. But yeah, so my tarantula, she is, you know, a lot of times they'll be on their back just chilling. And a lot of times they can appear as though they're dead, but they're not. When they molt, which, you know, they have exoskeletons, you know what I mean? They don't have endoskeletons. And so it's like, you know, their bodies, their bones and stuff are all exterior. They're on the outside. And like us, when we grow, our bones, they grow with us. But with the spider, that's not the case. I mean, it's like they actually outgrow their bodies. And so it's called a molting process. And so what's happening right now, the reason why she's on her back is because she's outgrown the body in which she's in. And basically she's just going to crack out of that body like a shell. And then she's going to be up and moving around, and it's going to appear as though there's two tarantulas in the cage here, when in fact it's only one. And I'm just going to have to take that molted exoskeleton and basically toss it in the trash. All right, so that's crazy, y'all. I didn't expect to catch that on video, but hey, it is what it is. So anyway, 12 megapixel triple camera here. Let me know what you guys think about it, and stay tuned because the dedicated review for the Sony Xperia 5 is going to be coming soon. All right. All right, y'all. So I hope you guys enjoyed that imagery and the videography that I was able to capture with the Sony Xperia 5 here. Let me know down in the comments what you think about what you saw there. Then I just want a quick correction. So as far as the display on this phone, it's a 6.1 Full HD Plus HDR OLED display. Okay, so it's not the True Tone 4K display that we find on the Xperia 1, but it is a Full HD Plus OLED panel. And like I said, I mean, this display is just absolutely gorgeous, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's a very, very stunning display. All right. As far as the nits, I can't recall exactly the amount of nits that this phone tops out at, but I mean, the phone gets really bright, and so you should not have any problems viewing this phone in different conditions. All right. Now, the battery life for the Xperia 5 here, we've got a 3,140 milliamp hour battery. That's 3,140 milliamps. And I know some of you guys are going to be like, wow, that's a really small cell, you know, compared to today's standards. And, you know, that's true. But you can never knock it. You can never judge a book by its cover, because I've had this phone for a little while now, and I've taken it with me on plenty of days, and I've gotten way more battery life than you would think that you would get from a cell that's so small. I can very easily get through this phone, or get through a day with this phone without having to charge it. This is not one of those devices that you feel like you're going to have to feel like you're going to have to charge every night. Now, again, that is solely dependent on how you use your devices. So if you just really go hard on your phone, then yeah, you either may want to carry the charger with you, or you're going to have to throw it on the charger on a nightly basis. All right. But again, as I've told you guys in several of my videos, I'm more of a light to moderate user. I mean, I just don't really go all that hard on my phones. I mean, right when I get a phone, when I'm trying to test it out just to see how quickly I can kill off a battery, yeah, I'll go hard on it. Like, you know, Netflix, you know, streaming video content on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just multiple applications open, browsing the web, all that kind of stuff. You know, I don't really game on my phones. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, so I guess I could do that as well to help, you know, kill the battery. But I mean, as far as gaming on this device, I mean, you're going to be able to do that in an absolute breeze, mainly because of those specifications that I read for you. And I think it's got some gaming modes on here as well. All right. To help kind of optimize your gaming experience. You know, again, I mean, you know, 3,140 milliamp hour battery. I get through a full day with no problems at all whatsoever. You know, screen on time and all that stuff. You know, I don't really pay much attention to that, because a lot of that is going to be solely dependent on how you use your device, and everybody uses their device differently. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, battery life for me has not been a problem with the Xperia 5 whatsoever. Now, additional features, again, I like the fact that this phone, we've got the side-mounted fingerprint sensor right there that is lightning quick. I'm a big fan of that. We've got the dedicated camera button right there, right here. You see that? I'm a huge fan of that, because I mean, as thin as this phone is, I mean, it just feels so natural in the hand to have a dedicated button, as opposed to having to have your thumb placed on the screen. I know a lot of us, you know, we've gotten used to this orientation, but I mean, the fact that Sony still gives us a separate dedicated button to capture footage, or to capture images, I'm a huge fan of that. I'm a big fan of that. All right. Now, another thing that I like about this phone is the dual stereo speakers. Okay, so we've got a speaker here at the earpiece right here at the top, and then we've got another bottom firing speaker down here at the bottom. As you can see, we've got our Type-C port. Another thing that I like about this phone is we have lightning fast charging. We can charge from 0 to like 60% in a half hour. I mean, this phone is almost OnePlus fast as far as the charging. And another thing that I like about this phone as well is it has the technology. I can't remember the name of it exactly, but say if you put this phone on the charger and you leave it, and say the phone tops out at 100%, you know, before you get to it, sometimes, you know, leaving your phone on the charger when the battery is full can really damage the battery. Well, this phone has the technology in it, as long with the Xperia 1, to where it'll stop the charge once the phone hits 100% to preserve the life of the battery. Okay, so it's like, you know, say if you put your phone, you know, on the charger at night, you go to sleep. Of course, when you wake up in the morning, it's going to be at 100%. But just know that whenever that phone hits 100% while you're still snoozing, you know, there's no additional harm being done to the battery, because, you know, the phone knows to kill the charge once the phone has reached 100%. Like, that's a really dope feature, right? That's a really nice feature. Again, just the form factor of this device. I mean, I love how thin it is and just how easy it is just to hold in the hand. I mean, again, look at this. You know, always on display. I'm a huge fan of that. You know, like I said, this phone is loaded. It's fully loaded. You know, I was looking. The reason why I wanted to get this over the Xperia 1 is because I just really wanted to get my hands on a smaller device that was a beast with no compromises, right? I mean, we see a lot of times, you know, we have like the bigger versions of phones and the smaller versions of phones, and the small versions always seem to take a hit somewhere, right? You know, it's like, why can't things just stay the same, but just offer us a smaller version? You know, well, the Xperia 5 here is, to me, that smaller device that just has everything. It's got always on display, dual speakers, really fast charging. We've got your own separate dedicated camera button right there. We've got the side mounted fingerprint sensor that is lightning quick. I mean, I think one of the only things that this phone does not have is facial recognition, but I'm not really, that's not a big deal to me. You know what I'm saying? Because I can easily get into this phone with the fingerprint sensor. It's not a problem. Like, the fingerprint sensor's never been an issue at all whatsoever. All right. We've got Dolby Atmos on this device. And so when you're listening to music content, you know, you're able to customize your music even more so than what you would on just your typical device. So Dolby Atmos is a huge feature here. We've got a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. Wait, did I misspeak? I thought we had the headphone jack. Maybe that's on the Xperia 1. Okay. My bad, people. I didn't mean to get you excited. No headphone jack, but it does come with the dongle in the box, right? Now, another thing is this phone is IP65 and it's IP68 water and dust resistant, and you've got PS4 remote play. So for all of you PlayStation fans out there, you know, you've got remote play. We've got Qualcomm aptX HD audio. You know what I mean? To enhance your audio experience. And then, you know, within the camera, we've got what's called a creator mode. And with the creator mode, it gives you the ability to have pro style color reproduction accuracy. And you can change all those things manually. You know what I mean? And so, and then we also have optical steady shot, which it combines optical image stabilization and electronic image stabilization simultaneously for shake-free recording while you're recording a movie. I mean, so it's like, you know, you're doubling up on the image stabilization while you're recording video. How dope is that? That's why that video content that you saw looks so smooth, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so this phone is definitely packing a lot. I understand, you know, we're in March of 2020, this phone coming out at the latter part of 2019. But I mean, is this phone still relevant? Absolutely. It is absolutely still relevant in my book. And I think it's a good buy right now. You know, if you don't have to have the latest and the greatest and you're looking for a really good unlocked device, you know, fully unlocked device, man, I can highly recommend the Sony Xperia 5. And so, you know, my final thoughts, I mean, there's nothing really that I dislike about this phone. I mean, you know, I like pretty much everything that there is about this device. You know, I'm in love with the form factor, just how thin and lightweight it is. You know, it's a powerhouse. It performs really well, as you guys saw. I mean, this phone just checks all the boxes. It really does. And again, you just look at that display. I mean, the 21:9 aspect ratio, beautiful display there. Okay, there's a lot of content that you and I watch all the time that is filmed in 21:9, but we're not able to view that content because we don't have 21:9 aspect ratio monitors and stuff like that where we can view that content. But I mean, on these devices, content that is recorded in 21:9, we can view it in that aspect ratio, and it is really, really, really nice. And you see here, just as I'm scrolling through my Google feed, I mean, just how smooth and responsive to the touch this thing is. I mean, this thing, the way it's breezing through things, you would think that it did have like a 90 hertz refresh rate display. You know what I mean? But just again, I'm a fan of the form factor too, of just the thin bezels and just, I mean, this is just a really, really nice device, man. I don't think that Sony gets the praise for their devices that they should. You know, and I understand when the Xperia 1 came out, I mean, there was some issues with it. I know my man Jay Will, you know, his Xperia 1 experience was a catch and release. Like, he sent it back and just didn't even bother getting it again. I think he said, I think I recall him saying something about the fact that he's, you know, interested in the new Xperia Mach 2. And so I hope that he has a better experience, this time around with the Sony device. But I mean, my experience with this Xperia 5 here, it's been solid. It's been solid. And like I said, the fact that it's fully unlocked, if I want to rock with Verizon, I can throw my Verizon SIM card in it. If I want to rock with T-Mobile or AT&T, which are, two of my other carriers, man, I can throw any one of them SIM cards in this bad boy and I'm good to go. You know what I'm saying? So, it's been out for a little bit. I'm sure you can get it at a deal. I know they sell it at Best Buy. If you can come across an open box one, you know what I mean? Man, get it for the low, for sure. It's a really, really good device. All right. So that's all I got, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for allowing me to bend your ear on the Sony Xperia 5. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to expose yourself to tons of more videos that I've done like this one, and keep it locked at Pristine Mobile Tech because I've got so much more content to come. Be sure to hit that notifications bell down below. What that's going to do is every time I upload a new video, you'll get notified and you can be one of the first to check it out. I'll be chilling in the comment section, waiting to hear any comments, questions, or feedback that you guys may have about what you saw here. Or if there's anything else about this device that you would like for me to cover, man, talk to me. You know what I'm saying? The comment section is where I'll be at. You know what I'm saying? So, again, thanks again for tuning in. Much love to all of my subscribers. Much love to everybody around the globe that, we're in the house, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of places are on lockdown. Here in Seattle, Washington, we haven't quite faced the lockdown. Our governor is strongly suggesting that people don't leave the house and just try to practice social distancing. But my understanding is that they're calling in the National Guards pretty soon, and we're going to be looking at some martial law-ish type of stuff here pretty soon because people just don't seem to get the hint. People, there's no cure for this disease. All right, there's no cure for coronavirus. The only way to beat it at this point is to minimize person-to-person contact because that's how the disease or the virus is being spread. People keep congregating and gathering up and meeting up and kicking it over at your partner's house playing 2K or Madden, you know what I'm saying? And they sniffling and they coughing. A lot of people have this virus and the symptoms lie dormant. It's not one of those things that right when you get it, you know it off the top. So a lot of people are walking around that are carrying this virus and they're giving it to people unconsciously. Okay. We got to put it into this thing, man. And so I'm like, hey, if ushering in martial law is what it's going to take, then man, because people want to be hard headed, then so be it, man. You ain't got to tell me twice. You know what I'm saying? I'm posted up in the house. And the only reason why I leave my house is because I work a job. I work in the medical field. I'm on the front line. I work in anesthesia. I help put people to sleep for surgery. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so, I'm at a great risk because I'm right there on the front line. But I trust in God. And this isn't the only storm in my life, that I've gone through. And just like all the other storms that I've gone through, I know God will carry me and us through this. But just please be smart, ladies and gentlemen. Stay home. Only go places that you need to go. And if you do need to leave your house, make sure you are conscientious of who's around you. If you have a mask, wear a mask. But if you don't need to leave, please don't. Stay home, minimize the risk, protect yourself, wash your hands. Hand hygiene and hygiene overall in this country is trash. And it's one of the main reasons why so many of these things get around and people really get affected by this stuff. And some people lose their lives because of this stuff. Wash your hands, practice good hygiene, stay away from people, protect yourself, protect your family, trust in God, never let go of his ever unchanging hand. Thank him every day because you never know when you're going to take your last breath. And it's stuff like this that is confirmation that we're living in the last days. Talks about it in Revelations if you don't think I'm telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff is written. It ain't no surprise to me, but it ain't no reason to be afraid. You don't need to be scared. You know what I'm saying? Just trust in the Lord, accept him as your Lord and Savior, and he got you. All right. Didn't mean to preach, but this is a serious deal. A lot of people are getting sick. A lot of people have died. And, they say it always gets worse before it gets better. You know what I'm saying? There's still no cure for, so we have to do our part, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm using my platform to get this message out. All right. My condolences to the family that are suffering, who have lost loved ones because of the coronavirus. Anybody that's sick right now because of the coronavirus, I pray for a speedy recovery. And even the people that recover from this virus, they're still not quite out of the woods just yet, because there's a study that shows that some people have scarring on their lungs. This thing really attacks your lungs. It's an upper respiratory infection virus. It attacks your lungs. And so even people that get over it, they have scarring on their lungs, and they're dealing with for the rest of their lives, possibly with like 20, 30, maybe 40% decrease in their lung capacity, which means that they're going to have trouble breathing. People that are diabetics, people that have asthma, people that have heart disease, people that have cancer, all these people that have all these pre-existing conditions are highly susceptible to this disease. And I'm pretty sure that you and I both know a few people that have one of these things that I just named, which is why it's important that we protect ourselves and protect our loved ones. All right. So, man, do the right thing, and, man, keep it safe, get spiritually fit, and keep it pristine in every aspect of your lives. Didn't mean to preach, but I'm just saying this is real. This is real deal, man. We got to take this thing seriously. All right. Catch y'all in the next video. This is the Xperia 5. I'm your man, Pristine, bringing the content. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.